So, you want to be more charismatic, like your favorite movie character, or maybe someone you noticed at work, maybe someone you saw at the store. They just have that feel about them that make them so cool or charismatic. And you wonder how you can become more like that. Well, for the past few weeks, I've been studying a little more on charisma and how someone as ordinary as myself can become more charismatic. So why don't we discuss a little more about what I found. Now, before we go into charisma, I think it's a little important to understand what it actually means. What I found off Google, word for word, a compelling attractiveness or charm that can inspire devotion in others. Now that's a cool definition, but I really agree with the one I found off of the book I'm reading right now. And for reference, the book's name is called The Charisma Rules by Gary Marshall. And the book's definition about charisma is how you make other people feel. Now that's a little interesting. I don't think a lot of us would think about how we make other people feel if we're trying to be more charismatic. But the beauty about charisma, and it sort of ties back to Google's definition, is it builds this devotion in others. Why? Because you allow them to feel better when they're around you. Now, when you take a charismatic character like, say, James Bond, you really focus in on how cool he is, how smooth he talks, and all of these other factors. But the one trait that gets overlooked a lot is how they make others feel. Now, one of the first tips I learned from the book on how to become more charismatic was to be just more present. It's really just a simple concept, but you can get lost in being present all the time. Now, if we think about it, you can get lost in a rabbit hole just trying to stay present with somebody you're talking to. For example, let's say you went out with one of your friends. You went to the movies and right after you went somewhere to grab some dinner. How would it make you feel if while you guys were talking and eating food, your friend decides to be on their phone while you're talking to them? In that moment, they're not present. And going back to that definition of how you make others feel, how would you feel if you're talking to someone while they're on their phone? You don't feel like your time is respected and your presence there just isn't noticed. So a big thing you can do is just be more present and focus all of your attention on being present with that other person, because it's how you make them feel, and giving them the attention that they want, it allows you to be more of a charismatic person. Now, the next way you can become more charismatic is by actively listening to the person you're talking to. And the trick is to listen to understand rather than reply. I can't tell you how many times I've struggled with this in the past, and it's something I've been able to improve on by becoming more aware of it. Whenever I would listen to someone, I'd always start these little thoughts in my mind on what I wanted to say rather than listening to what they're talking about. Like, I'd hear a few words here, there, but I missed most of the conversation because I'm already generating replies to what they're trying to say. So by doing this, I'd always come up with some generic reply like, wow, that's crazy, or that's cool. But by actively listening to understand, my replies have gotten a lot better. I feel like I connect with the people I'm talking to a lot better, and I've become more charismatic, which makes me feel better. So the next time you're talking with someone, don't listen just to reply. Listen to understand exactly what that person is saying, and you'll find yourself becoming more charismatic. Because remember, it's how you make others feel, and when you understand someone a lot better, surely they're gonna feel like you understand them clearly and you make them feel better about being in your presence. Next step, fix your posture. Your posture is huge. I'm not gonna lie. It says a lot about you because you're not gonna speak to everyone that you pass on a daily basis. So walking like this will signal something completely different than having your chest out and walking. Don't do that. Don't do that. But then having your chest out, shoulders back, not that exaggerated, but you get what I mean. Having that sort of posture is a lot different than having a shy, maybe reserved posture like this. Now, having a body posture that speaks to more of a charismatic person is so incredible. Some of the things I've picked up from the book are making sure that you have your shoulders stuck out, the way our chest pokes out, and having the intent of where we want to walk. I want to walk to the camera. Walk with intent. Know where you want to walk and walk with intent to that place. It just seems like you're more charismatic. James Bond is not going to walk nervously to wherever he's going. He's going to walk with intent because he knows where he's going. Posture is big. It speaks a lot. It actually can speak a lot louder than any words you say. The way we present ourselves around people, even if we're not talking to them, can say a lot about us. Typically, if you're shy, what do you think of? Someone who might have their shoulders in, doesn't want to talk to you, a little away with their body language versus someone who's charismatic is gonna be a lot more open. Chest, like I said earlier, chest out, shoulders out, with the intent of going somewhere. They know what they're going, they're confident with what they're doing, and their posture shows that. So being more charismatic goes a lot deeper than any words that you're gonna say. Focus on your posture and it can make you seem more charismatic. Now, another way you can become more charismatic is by focusing all your attention on the other person. This sort of goes back to the first 2 points, but let's be honest. People love to talk about themselves. I love to talk about myself. I'm talking to you guys about myself and my journey. So thank you for listening. But it's in our human nature to be a little more selfish and want to talk about ourselves. So going back to the original definition from the book, it's how we make others feel. If we allow others to talk more, it makes us feel like the conversation is going a lot better than it is. Typically, in their minds, because they got to speak about themselves, so that was an awesome conversation. Now there was a quote or a snippet that I heard from a really smart entrepreneur. His name is Patrick Bet-David. I'm sure some of you might have heard his name, but he said something that stuck with me and it sort of reminded me of this exact point. He said to be interested rather than being interesting. What it means is you have to be more interested in the other person with asking questions, getting them to talk more, rather than taking up all the extra time by talking about yourself. People will love talking about themselves, but the minute you just talk too much about yourself, seem selfish, the whole charismatic feel about yourself moves away, and that other person might not feel, remember, feel like they're appreciated, or at least their aspect of the conversation isn't as important because you're eating up all the time doing this. Don't do this. Allow them to have that moment of spotlight, stardom, whatever it is, and maybe you'll see yourself being more charismatic because remember, it's how you make others feel. Listen, it's not rocket science. You can be more charismatic. You can be that movie character that you've always wanted to be like. It just takes a little bit of practice. You're not gonna go out and shoot a basketball and think you're NBA caliber. Just all you need to do is try. All you need to do is practice, and you can be more charismatic. I certainly feel more charismatic, and I'm nobody special. I feel like in my own life, I'm more charismatic, I feel good, and you can be more charismatic too. So just try it, and you'll see the difference.